On the night of October 5, 2025, a single massive explosion shattered the calm near Narofomynsk, Russia. This was no accident, it was the climax of a bold Ukrainian operation targeting a vast Russian missile and ammunition depot. Inside, Iskander ballistic missiles, Kalibr cruise missiles, and thousands of artillery shells, over $700 million in assets, gone in seconds. The strike crippled Russian supply lines, a blow that would echo for months. This wasn't luck, it was the result of weeks of intelligence gathering and high-risk reconnaissance. Ukrainian special forces, working with partisans, mapped every vulnerability and defense. The plan, Operation Chimera, was a daring blend of air, ground and cyber warfare. Failure meant losing elite troops and precious tech. Success would shift the war's momentum. The depot was deep behind enemy lines, shielded by air defenses and elite Russian paratroopers. A direct assault seemed impossible, but Ukrainian commanders saw a window: surprise, technology, and determination. As the operation launched, the world watched in disbelief. Satellite images soon confirmed the devastation. A crater where warehouses once stood, smoke visible for miles. The $700 million loss was a conservative estimate. The battle for Narofomynsk had begun with a fireball seen from space. This was more than a tactical victory, it was a message. Ukraine had rewritten the rules of deep strike warfare. The operation's audacity stunned military analysts worldwide. Russian forces scrambled to respond, but the damage was done. The depot's destruction would haunt Russian logistics for the foreseeable future. For Ukraine, it was proof that even the most fortified targets could fall. The opening act was over, but the real battle was just beginning. Operation Chimera had set the stage for a new kind of war. The world would never look at military fortresses the same way again. In a single night, the balance of power shifted. The gamble had paid off, spectacularly, and the war for Narofomynsk was only getting started. The Narofomynsk depot was more than a storage site, it was a fortress. Russian engineers spent months turning it into the central hub for the entire front. Trenches, dragon's teeth, and minefields ringed the perimeter. Machine gun nests and dug-in T-90M tanks guarded every approach. Air defenses were layered, S-400s for long range, Panzer S-1s for close-in threats, and soldiers armed with manpads. Russia believed the depot was untouchable, a bubble where no enemy could survive. Elite VDV paratroopers, not conscripts, patrolled aggressively, using night vision and drones to hunt for threats. Any sign of Ukrainian activity was met with instant artillery fire. Russian drones spotted for their gunners, creating a deadly feedback loop. For Ukrainian planners, this was the ultimate challenge: how to breach a fortress that saw and struck first. The answer would demand innovation and risk. The Russians trusted in overwhelming force and technology. But every fortress has a weakness. Ukraine was determined to find it. The stage was set for a battle that would test the limits of modern warfare. The rules were about to change. Ukraine's assault began with deception, not brute force. Cyber units blinded Russian command networks, flooding them with false reports and spoofed GPS signals. For a crucial window, Russian defenders were left in the dark. Next, a swarm of low-flying drones, many just decoys, triggered Russian air defenses, exposing their positions. Ukrainian HIMARS launchers struck those air defense sites, clearing the way. On the ground, elite SSO teams and foreign volunteers slipped through the chaos, clearing paths and jamming Russian comms. The real blow came from the Air Storm Shadow cruise missiles, flying low and fast, targeted command posts, radar, and power generators. The goal: decapitate leadership and sow chaos before the main assault. Every move was coordinated, every strike calculated. The Russians were reeling, their fortress suddenly vulnerable. Ukraine's blend of cyber, drones, and precision firepower was rewriting the playbook. The defenders faced confusion and destruction from every direction. The symphony of steel had only just begun. The fortress was cracking. The battle devolved into brutal close-quarters combat. Russian VDV paratroopers fell back to secondary positions, turning the forest into a deadly maze. Night vision and thermal optics gave Ukrainian troops an edge, but Russian FPV drones hunted them relentlessly. Artillery from both sides tore the landscape apart. Ukrainian teams used live drone feeds to pinpoint threats, calling in precise strikes. Russians countered with flying bombs, turning trees into shrapnel. Every meter was contested. Sometimes with bayonets, sometimes with drone-guided grenades. The psychological toll was immense. Constant drone threats, sudden artillery, the tension of clearing trenches room by room. Technology and grit mixed in every firefight. Both sides were pushed to their limits. The digital and physical battlefields blurred. In the mud and chaos, only adaptability survived. The fight for Narrow-Fominsk was a test of will and innovation. Just as Ukraine gained ground, Russia struck back, not with tanks, but with electronic warfare. Powerful jammers like Krasuka 4 created a wall of static. Ukrainian comms went dark, GPS vanished, drones crashed. Suddenly, every unit was isolated, fighting blind. Russian reserves surged forward, using the chaos to encircle Ukrainian teams. The hunter became the hunted. The assault devolved into chaos. Without tech, Ukrainians relied on maps, compasses, and flares. Javelins failed to lock on. Squads faced armored vehicles with RPGs. The technological edge was gone. But Ukraine had prepared. SSO teams used hardened, frequency-hopping radios for brief encrypted bursts. They signaled with flares and sent runners through the woods. Russian counterattacks were fierce, but Ukrainian resilience held. The fight was now raw, desperate, and personal. The electronic wall had changed the game, but the battle was far from over. Adaptation would decide who survived. The turning point came through patience and precision. Ukrainian sniper teams, hidden for hours, waited for Russian EW trucks to reveal themselves. As the jammers powered up, their heat signatures glowed in thermal scopes. 50 caliber rounds shattered antennas and generators, crippling the electronic wall. Instantly, Ukrainian comms and drones came back online. The digital fog lifted, coordination returned, FPV drones swarmed Russian armor, striking weak points and halting the counterattack. Artillery, now guided by real-time data, laid down a creeping barrage. SSO teams advanced behind the shellfire, forcing Russians to retreat. The psychological blow was devastating. Momentum had flipped again. Russian defenses faltered as Ukraine pressed the attack. The path to the depot was forced open, meter by bloody meter. The combined arms assault was relentless. Russian forces had no time to regroup. The fortress was crumbling. The final act was about to begin. The last obstacle was a mine-laced kill zone before the main bunkers. Sending soldiers was suicide, so Ukraine sent robots, Rat UGVs, remote-controlled and armored, cleared mines under smoke cover. Heavy-lift drones followed, each armed with thermobaric rockets. With Russian air defenses destroyed, the sky belonged to Ukraine. Drones hovered over bunkers, unleashing fire from above. Thermobaric blasts triggered a chain reaction. One bunker after another erupted. The ground shook, a mushroom cloud rising over the ruins. The $700 million depot was annihilated in minutes. Russian defenders fled as their fortress burned. Ukrainian troops advanced, not to fight, but to witness victory. The operation's audacity had paid off. The battle for Narrow-Fominsk was over. The rules of war had changed. Forever. Ukraine had shown what modern warfare could do. At dawn, only smoking craters remained where the depot once stood. The forest was flattened, the air thick with burnt chemicals. Russia's $700 million loss was strategic disaster. An entire army group left without munitions. Amid the ruins, small acts of humanity merged. A soldier sharing water with a stray dog. Medics treating a wounded enemy. Operation Chimera became a case study in military academies worldwide. It proved that no fortress is truly safe in the age of drones and cyber warfare. The battle's lesson was clear: technology, used smartly and flexibly, trumps brute force. The world's militaries took note: no more safe havens. The ashes of Narrow-Fominsk were a warning: adapt, or be left in ruins. In modern war, the only constant is change.